Ladies and gentlemen, we are all familiar with the struggles of life. The unexpected obstacles, the frustrations, the disappointments. At some point, each one of us has faced a moment when we felt that the weight of the world was pressing down on us. The temptation to react, to allow those moments to dictate our emotions, can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that there is a power in choosing not to react? What if we could train ourselves to act as if nothing bothers us, no matter how tough the circumstance? CES, mastering your reactions rather than trying to control or change the circumstances around you, is one of the most empowering strategies anyone can adopt in life. It's often said that while we cannot control the events that happen to us, we can control how we respond to them. This mindset shifts the focus from the external to the internal, and that shift is transformative. When we realize that our reactions, our choices, and our state of mind are within our power, we begin to take responsibility for our own emotional landscape. This concept is not just about accepting the uncontrollable elements of life, it's about thriving in spite of them. The notion of mastering our reactions is a powerful one because it liberates us from the exhausting pursuit of controlling everything and everyone around us. It places the onus on us to choose how we want to show up in the world, regardless of the chaos or challenges we might be facing. When we look at life through this lens, it becomes clear that reactions are where true control lies. Consider a difficult situation, perhaps an argument with a colleague, a challenging project at work, or an unexpected personal setback. In the heat of the moment, our natural instinct might be to react impulsively, driven by frustration, anger, or anxiety. But if we allow ourselves a moment of reflection and self-awareness, we can choose how to respond instead of simply reacting. This pause between stimulus and response is where the power of choice resides. It's not the situation itself that causes distress. It's the way we allow it to affect us, the meaning we assign to it, and the decisions we make in that emotional moment. One of the most impactful things we can do in life is create that space between what happens to us and how we respond. This space is crucial for emotional regulation, allowing us to filter our initial, often emotional impulses and instead choose a more thoughtful, composed, and measured reaction. This ability to pause and reflect before reacting is an essential skill, one that demands practice but which can profoundly affect how we handle life's curveballs. When we allow ourselves this space, we are not denying our emotions. Instead, we are acknowledging them and deciding whether to give them the power to dictate our actions or to let them pass without control. The beauty of mastering our reactions is that it's not about suppressing emotions or pretending that we aren't affected. Rather, it's about understanding that while emotions are natural and part of the human experience, we don't need to let them control us. We are not slaves to our emotional impulses. We are capable of exercising conscious choice. For example, when faced with an aggressive comment from a coworker, our first impulse might be to fire back in defense. But instead of reacting immediately, we have the power to step back, take a deep breath, and assess the situation. By doing so, we remove the emotional charge from the interaction, allowing ourselves to respond thoughtfully, perhaps with calm and dignity, rather than perpetuating conflict. It is in these moments that mastering reactions becomes most evident. We don't have to fight fire with fire. We can choose to let the flames die down by simply not adding fuel to the fire. Mastering our reactions involves cultivating a sense of awareness that we are responsible for how we choose to experience the world. We must recognize that much of the stress and frustration we feel is self-imposed by how we respond to the events around us. Life is unpredictable, and setbacks are inevitable. But when we choose how to react to these situations, we regain a sense of control. We free ourselves from being victims of circumstance. By focusing on our reactions, we stop letting external events dictate our mental and emotional states. This is particularly important because stress and negativity often arise from the belief that we cannot change or control our circumstances. However, by focusing on what we can control, our reactions, we reclaim our power. It's also important to recognize that when we master our reactions, we often discover new opportunities for growth. For instance, if we are constantly reacting with frustration or anger to challenging situations, we miss out on the lessons those situations are offering us. The person who cuts us off in traffic might be teaching us patience. The difficult client or coworker might be offering us an opportunity to practice empathy or develop better communication skills. These lessons are only available to us when we resist the urge to react impulsively and instead take the time to thoughtfully consider our responses. Mastering our reactions is not just about maintaining emotional control. It's about recognizing that each challenge or hardship carries with it a lesson, and the way we respond determines whether we learn from it or remain stuck in an emotional cycle. This is not to say that there won't be moments when we feel overwhelmed or frustrated. That's part of being human. But when we focus on mastering our reactions, we develop resilience, the ability to weather those emotional storms without being swept away by them. Resilience comes not from denying our emotions, but from acknowledging them and choosing how we want to respond. It's in these moments of emotional difficulty that we are tested the most, but it is also where we have the greatest opportunity for personal growth. The process of mastering our reactions also requires patience. Just as any skill takes time to develop, so does emotional control. It's easy to get discouraged when we slip up or find ourselves reacting in ways that we later regret. But the key is not to judge ourselves too harshly. Instead, we can use those moments as opportunities for self-reflection, asking ourselves why we reacted in that way and what we can do differently next time. With practice, we become more attuned to our emotions and more skilled at navigating them. It's not about achieving perfection, but about creating a mindset where we are constantly striving to respond with intention rather than impulsiveness. When we adopt the mindset of mastering our reactions, we also start to see a shift in the way we perceive the world around us. We become less focused on external events and more focused on cultivating an inner peace that is unaffected by the ebb and flow of life. We stop letting the external world dictate how we feel. The ultimate result of this is that we become more present, more grounded, and more at peace with ourselves. So, instead of reacting to life's challenges with anxiety or frustration, we face them with calm, clarity, and an open mind, knowing that we always have the power to choose our response. This ability to master our reactions is not something that happens overnight. It requires self-awareness, practice, and a commitment to personal growth. But the rewards are immense. As we master our reactions, we discover a deeper sense of freedom and control over our lives. We realize that no matter what happens, we can always choose how we respond. And in this choice lies the power to shape our experiences, to create the life we desire, and to live with a peace that comes not from the world around us, but from within. Inner peace is a state of mind that is often misunderstood. Many people mistakenly believe that inner peace comes from external circumstances, such as achieving success, attaining material wealth, or receiving recognition from others. In truth, inner peace is not something that can be granted or taken away by the world around us. It is not the product of favorable situations, but rather the result of our own inner discipline and the choices we make in response to those situations. Inner peace is a choice. It is a decision to maintain a sense of calm and balance, regardless of what is happening in the world. This realization is profound because it frees us from the need to control everything around us, and it places the power to live peacefully squarely within our own hands. The choice to cultivate inner peace is not a passive one, but an active practice that requires commitment and intentionality. One of the primary reasons people struggle with inner peace is the misconception that it is something external that must be attained. We live in a world that often equates peace with the absence of problems. We might believe that once we reach a certain level of financial stability, acquire the perfect job, or resolve a difficult relationship, then we will find peace. The problem with this mindset is that it places the power of our peace in the hands of external forces, leaving us constantly dependent on conditions outside of our control. In reality, peace cannot be found in the absence of problems because problems are a natural part of life. Life is full of uncertainty, change, and challenges. And if we wait for everything to be perfect before we allow ourselves to be at peace, we will be waiting indefinitely. Inner peace is about how we respond to the challenges that inevitably arise. It is about choosing to cultivate calm no matter what is happening around us. When we recognize that peace is not a consequence of external factors, but rather a choice, we can begin to take ownership of our inner world. We stop waiting for the world to change, and instead we focus on changing how we engage with the world. This shift in perspective can be life-changing because it allows us to take control of the one thing that is truly within our power, our internal state. The choice to cultivate inner peace begins with acceptance, does not mean resignation or passivity. It does not mean that we give up on improving our circumstances or striving for growth. Rather, acceptance is the recognition that there are certain things beyond our control, and instead of resisting them, we choose to respond with equanimity. By accepting the present moment as it is, we free ourselves from the mental and emotional turmoil that comes with fighting against reality. We stop wishing that things were different and begin to embrace what is. This acceptance is not about liking everything that happens, but rather about being at peace with what is beyond our immediate control. In addition to acceptance, cultivating inner peace also requires mindfulness, the ability to stay present and aware in each moment. Mindfulness helps us become more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and reactions, which in turn enables us to respond with intention rather than being driven by impulse. Often we react automatically to situations based on past experiences, fears, or anxieties. These automatic reactions can lead to stress and conflict, and they often take us further away from peace. By practicing mindfulness, we become more conscious of our thoughts and emotions, and we gain the ability to choose how to respond. This conscious choice allows us to maintain our inner peace even when external events challenge us. Mindfulness also helps us let go of the need to control everything. We often find ourselves trying to control our surroundings, our relationships, and even the future in the hope that this will bring us peace. However, true peace comes from letting go of the need for control and embracing uncertainty. When we surrender the illusion of control, we create space for peace to naturally arise. This does not mean that we become passive or stop working towards our goals. It simply means that we stop clinging to outcomes and allow life to unfold as it will. By releasing the need for control, we open ourselves to the flow of life, and we experience a deep sense of freedom. Another key aspect of cultivating inner peace is self-compassion. Many people struggle with peace because they are overly critical of themselves. They hold themselves to impossible standards and berate themselves when they make mistakes. This inner criticism creates a constant inner turmoil, making it difficult to experience peace. In contrast, self-compassion involves treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, especially during times of difficulty or failure. It is the practice of recognizing our humanity and accepting that we are not perfect. When we show ourselves compassion, we create a sense of peace within that does not depend on our external achievements or perfection. We can be at peace with ourselves even when we are not perfect, and that peace radiates outward into our interactions with others. Additionally, practicing gratitude is a powerful tool in the cultivation of inner peace. When we focus on what we are grateful for, we shift our attention away from what is lacking or wrong in our lives, and instead we acknowledge the abundance and goodness that already exists. Gratitude helps us stay grounded in the present moment, appreciating the here and now rather than wishing for something else. This shift in focus can have a profound impact on our emotional state. When we practice gratitude regularly, we train our minds to see the positive. And in doing so, we create a mental environment that is conducive to peace. It is also important to recognize that inner peace is not a static state. It is a dynamic process that requires ongoing effort and practice. Just like physical fitness, inner peace is something that must be nurtured and cultivated consistently. There will be times when we are thrown off balance, when external circumstances test our peace. But the key is not to expect perfection, but to return to the practices that bring us peace, whether it's mindfulness, acceptance, self-compassion, or gratitude. With each return to these practices, we reinforce our ability to stay calm and centered in the face of life's challenges. Ultimately, the choice to cultivate inner peace is an ongoing journey. It is not about achieving a permanent state of calm, but about learning how to respond to the ebb and flow of life with grace and equanimity. Inner peace is something that we can choose at any moment, regardless of what is happening around us. It is a choice to let go of our attachments, to stop fighting against the present moment, and to embrace life as it is. By making this choice, we create a foundation of peace that allows us to navigate the world with a sense of calm and balance, no matter what challenges arise. In conclusion, the idea of mastering our reactions and choosing inner peace as a way of life is not just a passing concept, but a profound shift in perspective. We often find ourselves caught up in the pressures of life, overwhelmed by circumstances we cannot control, and swept away by the emotional tides of events that seem too large or too powerful to ignore. Yet, as we have explored, there is immense power in realizing that how we respond to those circumstances is entirely within our control. It's in our reactions that we find our true strength. It is not the events themselves, but our interpretation and reaction to those events that shapes our experience of life. When we acknowledge this, we begin to free ourselves from the belief that peace is something that comes only after achieving certain goals, or once external circumstances are just right. Instead, we understand that peace is an internal state, a state that is cultivated by consciously choosing how we respond to the world. This shift in mindset is not about denying our emotions, nor is it about suppressing what we feel in response to the world. Far from it. It is about recognizing that emotions, while a natural part of the human experience, do not have to dictate our every action. Instead of letting our emotions control us, we learn to become the masters of them. This mastery does not come easily, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, practice, and patience. We are not perfect beings, and we will make mistakes along the way. However, the key is to learn from those mistakes, to continuously return to the practice of awareness, and to make the conscious decision to respond with intention rather than reacting from a place of impulse. The space between stimulus and response is where we have the opportunity to exercise our true power. And with each mindful choice, we create the foundation for greater peace. Inner peace is not something we achieve once and for all, but rather a constant practice that requires attention and effort. We must regularly remind ourselves that true peace does not lie in external accomplishments, nor can it be dictated by other people's actions or opinions. The practice of cultivating peace within ourselves, regardless of external circumstances, is what enables us to remain grounded and centered in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Life will continue to throw us curveballs. There will always be moments of uncertainty, disappointment, and loss. But when we choose to focus on how we respond to these moments, we empower ourselves to stay calm, composed, and resilient. We realize that no matter what life brings, we always have the ability to choose how we will react, and this ability is the cornerstone of lasting inner peace. The choice to cultivate inner peace also requires a shift in how we see ourselves. Self-compassion is a vital aspect of this journey, as it allows us to be gentle with ourselves during times of struggle. We are often our own harshest critics, holding ourselves to standards that are difficult, if not impossible, to meet. But when we choose to approach ourselves with kindness and understanding, we create a mental and emotional space where peace can flourish. When we let go of perfectionism and embrace our human flaws and imperfections, we open the door to true peace. This self-compassion doesn't mean we stop striving for growth or self-improvement. It simply means we do so with a sense of patience and acceptance, acknowledging that we are all works in progress. In doing so, we cultivate an inner peace that is not contingent on our success or failure, but on our ability to be kind and forgiving with ourselves. Additionally, mindfulness plays a critical role in the cultivation of inner peace. It helps us remain present in the moment rather than getting lost in the past or worrying about the future. So much of our inner turmoil stems from dwelling on past mistakes or anxieties about what lies ahead. Mindfulness, however, helps us refocus our attention on the here and now. It allows us to detach from the constant mental chatter that fuels stress and anxiety, and instead it invites us to experience life in its fullness without judgment or expectation. This present moment awareness gives us the clarity to see situations as they are without the distortion of our own fears and biases. Through mindfulness, we learn to approach life with an open heart, receptive to whatever comes our way without being overwhelmed by it. Gratitude is another powerful tool in this process. When we focus on what we are grateful for, we shift our attention away from what is lacking or wrong in our lives. Gratitude redirects our thoughts toward abundance and positivity, helping us to see the many blessings that already exist in our lives. This simple practice has the ability to transform our perspective, making it easier to maintain inner peace even when circumstances are difficult. By training our minds to focus on what we have rather than what we lack, we create a mental environment that fosters peace and contentment. The more we practice gratitude, the more naturally it becomes to appreciate life, even in its most challenging moments. It's also important to acknowledge that achieving inner peace is not about denying the reality of difficulties or avoiding the challenges that life presents. Rather, it's about choosing to face those challenges with a calm and clear mind. Inner peace allows us to approach life with a sense of perspective, understanding that challenges are a natural part of the human experience. They are not obstacles to our peace, but opportunities for growth. When we approach difficulties with this mindset, we are better equipped to navigate them without being swept away by our emotions. We begin to see every challenge as an opportunity to practice patience, resilience, and compassion, both for ourselves and for others. One of the most profound aspects of this journey toward inner peace is the realization that peace is not something that comes from outside of us, but something that we create within ourselves. The world may not always be calm, and people may not always act in ways that are kind or fair, but we can choose to remain centered and calm in the face of those challenges. We do not need to wait for perfect circumstances or ideal situations. Peace is always available to us if we are willing to cultivate it from within. It is a decision, a choice, and a practice that requires our commitment, but the rewards are immeasurable. When we cultivate inner peace, we not only improve our own lives, but we also create a positive ripple effect in the world around us. Our calm and composed presence can serve as an anchor for others, helping to create a more peaceful and harmonious environment wherever we go. As we reflect on the journey of learning to master our reactions and choose inner peace, let us remember that it is not an instantaneous transformation. It is an ongoing practice, a daily commitment to responding to life's challenges with mindfulness, acceptance, and compassion. It requires us to consistently return to the choices that bring us peace, even when we slip, even when we falter. The beauty of this process is that every moment offers us a new opportunity to choose peace, to choose how we respond, and to reclaim our power over how we experience life. Each decision to maintain our peace is a step toward a more harmonious and fulfilling existence. Through this practice, we find that true peace lies not in controlling the world around us, but in mastering our inner world. And in that mastery, we discover the true freedom to live with calm, resilience, and grace, regardless of the circumstances that come our way.